Well, guys, me and my mom are here at this creek looking up all these shores and stuff like that, and we're finding a bunch of bricks. So, I think it's time to do a brickeology video. Oh, look at that, an Evans and Howard. Oh, it's a Walsh. Nice. That's a fire brick. I need that for my furnace. Ooh. That ice is getting thicker than it normally is. I'm probably not going to film much because everything is cold and slippery and my boots are warm, but they're pretty slick. I've worn a lot of the tread off. Nice. It's been a few days and the temperature sure has dropped, as you can see by all the snow. I found a bunch of wonderful bricks. Look at all these. So nice. They're just laying in the creek too. Well, on the side of the creek. So nice. So yeah, it looks like almost all of these are fire brick. I got them for a project of building my own metal melting furnace out of this old heat exchanger. So what I'm going to do is sometime take this and I'll cut a big hole in the back of it so I can line it with brick. And I can make a nice door and whatnot, and it can be a really nice furnace. I can probably like experiment with like melting glass and melting metal and stuff, and it'd just be so nice. I even found some really big blocks too that seem to have lettering in them. It is so light. Like, this is lighter than some of these bigger bricks. Or some of these smaller bricks, I mean. It's so amazing. Obviously a fire brick. And I also happened to find some corner pieces, some like wedges. So those would be nice to put on the outside since it's a round furnace. It's so cool. This is a really nice find. But unfortunately, it is freezing out here. Actually, it's many degrees below freezing. Starting to get a little bit of wind burn on my face. So, I think I'll take the best one inside, and let's do the rest of the video in the basement. All these lower bricks are frozen to the ground. Fuck. I think that's probably the best one. It's much nicer down here in the basement. Well, I cleaned this off, and it cleaned up really nicely. It looks almost brand new, actually. If I would have seen a stack of these at a store, I'd probably buy some. I assume that bricks would look kind of chunky anyway, because they have like little splatters and stuff on them. At least from that era. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of like splatters and stuff like that in the letters. It's kind of interesting. This might be mortar, but I'm not sure. It might just be dirt. Looks like it was just some clay. I'm not really sure though. It's kind of hard to tell. I think it's just really dry clay because this was sitting in the creek for many decades, most likely. Yeah, there's dirt underneath that. Okay, so yeah, just some creek grime. So I was able to find a few interesting things on the internet about Evans and Howard. Well, oh shit. I just had an idea. Check that out. A brick holder, so you guys can see it while I'm talking about it. It works so well. Just hope it doesn't fall down and crash onto my laptop. So, after about one day of searching on the internet, I was able to find a few interesting things about Evans and Howard. There seems to be a lot more information on it than there was on the Salamander Brickworks. And there's even a Wikipedia page. Speaking of Wikipedia, I just started a Wikipedia page for the Salamander Brickworks. That's what the previous video was about. And I would like you guys to, if you have any extra time, help expand that Wikipedia page, because I think it might be interesting to have at least a little bit more information and a nice little compact little story about it. You know what I mean? I wrote a little bit, and it's actually very interesting to see it slowly change, and people have already been editing it and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. Well, anyway, so Evans and Howard already has a Wikipedia page, and it's actually a pretty well made out page. I'm not a huge fan of Evans and Howard. I like the story because there's nothing that really like captured me too much, except for a little bit of information about the actual like production of it. Because at a certain point, there's so much information about it that it's almost like, well, why should I make a video then? But there's actually kind of cool stuff. So first off, I found this guy named Bob Corbett has a brick collection, and he also has a listing or a bunch of pages of really interesting, just like articles and stuff written about the Evans and Howard Brickworks. Well, it looks like the Evans and Howard Brickworks first started production around, according to this letter, around 1837, and I mean, I'm not really sure about the wording. So it's first activity from 1837. I mean, you can read it. And then it actually started working as a company in 1855. Then it was incorporated in 1867, and whenever it was purchased by Evans and Howard. So that's whenever it went from being the Chiltenham Fireclay Works, which was, I have actually a picture of that from 1870 or so. Here's that picture. It's kind of an interesting like engraving. It looks like this is on Wikipedia. There's more information on Wikipedia about it. So it's kind of interesting. It's the first, it's the closer group of buildings, not the further away ones. But that was the Chiltenham, or Chiltenham? Yeah, Cheltenham. Weird to say that. Brickworks. Well, then it was renamed in 1867, and really not much happened until 1875. So it looks like, you know how you guys said that the Salamander Brickworks, you were joking around like, wow, Brickworks burned down. Well, Evans and Howard burned down thrice. So, yeah, that's a good amount of fire. It's kind of funny. Well, it wasn't exactly, they were such a large company that had a lot of buildings. So the first fire happened in 1875, and I believe it was a fire of like 1.5, like adjusted for inflation, it cost them like $1.5 million in 1875 money, and that's quite a bit. There's one article, two articles, then there's a third article, this one that happens to mention the fire, but there are two articles just about the fire itself, which is kind of interesting. So here's this one page by Camille N. Dry. I think I've looked him up, and he was actually a map maker or something like that, and not much is really known about him, but it's kind of interesting. And there's some like nice little information about the history on here. It's interesting because like this is where you hear the mention of 1837 as being the first mention of it, because this is in the second paragraph. These works, of which Messrs. That's weird. I've never heard that word before. Evidently, Messrs. Is the plural for Mr. Weird. I mean, that's such an antiquated word. I've never even heard it. Evans and Howard are the present proprietors, have a history extending as far back as 1837. The early days of the works have but little of interest. What the fuck does that mean? Have but little of interest? Meaning you don't really care to actually do your job and do reporting? I don't know. Oh well. So we don't have much information. I don't really know how to say like the first years of Evans and Howard, because it kind of, the stuff we're going to find about it, I can't tell, like, do they mean like it was just some people making bricks in their backyard, or it was kind of, I don't know. But basically, Evans and Howard, these bricks weren't made before, like, what is it, 1876 or something? 1867, I'm sorry. 1867. So then, in late 1875, evidently after the first fire, they rebuilt the buildings really quickly, and actually brought in a bunch of modern, like steam-powered and gasoline-powered engines and having high-quality machines and stuff like that. And it was actually like the most state-of-the-art factory in the United States for brick manufacturing. And so that's kind of cool. It's like, wow, that's kind of interesting to hear that it was burned down, but that actually helped it become a like a powerhouse of brick production, at least in this area. And it also seemed like afterwards their number of products just grew exponentially or whatever. So like they burned down and they were like, we're gonna do it bigger and do it better and have more products and more pipe sizes and more brick sizes and whatnot. So that's kind of interesting because it looks like they also just like Salamander Brickworks, but just not as focusing on bricks and pottery. It looks like Evans and Howard also focus on making pipes and stuff like that, like ceramic pipes and whatnot. Because then, later on, one of the pipe factories burned down twice. So that wasn't very good for them. So, in 1904, there was actually this paper, which it's a really long paper, but it actually has some very nice information. You see, this is what I think is like the main gem of this story, is all of the interesting information about the actual manufacturing of it. So we have the second paragraph, a little bit into it. It's so they have some mines at Glencoe, Missouri, some clay mines, which I'm not familiar with underground clay mining. That's kind of interesting. It says that all the mining is done below ground by pick and blast. About 50 men are constantly employed disemboweling the raw material. That sounds really weird how you word it that way. But hey, it's 1904, so... And you know how journalists like to use odd words that sound interesting or fascinating. The company has an extensive equipment of cars and tracks at Glencoe for the conveying of the clay to the plant. All the clay is weathered for at least 6 months. I found that interesting. I didn't really know that you had to weather the clay. That's kind of interesting. It's like I never thought about that because I think of clay as clay, but now I know. The clay from the mine on the plant is hauled by the dry pay by teams. That makes no sense. Being dumped into storage bins situated near the pans for which it is intended. Not really sure what to make of that sentence. But anyway, it's kind of interesting. Basically this entire page just goes into very in depth about the actual production methods they used in 1904. Like, for instance, they had a 250 horsepower St. Louis coreless engine and a small machine shop. The machine shop is well equipped with planers, lathes, drill presses, and emery grinders, the company doing all of its own work except for making of large castings. The main portions of the plant are supplied with electric light. That's interesting. So by that time they already had electric light. Well, a main portion, so some didn't have electric light. So I guess that was in that transitional period. It looks like in 1949, two of the main buildings regarding like sewer pipe and stuff like that burned down, and they lost a shit ton of money. And then in 1958, one of those buildings they rebuilt burned down again. So yeah, and I can't really find much information about it after that. But once it gets into like 1960s and 1970s and so, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like that interesting to me. It's like it's within living memory. You know what I mean? But yeah, I couldn't find a very good, like, when it ended. But it seems like it just kind of, operations were bought by another company and they lasted there for several decades and they kind of moved and not really like any clear end date. You know what I mean? So here's a few articles and stuff like that, and I don't know, it's just kind of interesting. I'm really glad that I found a couple of them, and I'm really happy I found a really nice one. So I'm probably going to take a picture of this and put it on the Wikipedia page. So I'll put like because it's a really nice brick. I think it's a really nice quality. I mean, yeah, it looks brand new, and so yeah, I think I should probably just take a nice picture of it and upload it to Wikipedia for all to have in the future of humans. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. Evans and Howard. And my really shaky holding method, which is a shovel leaning into a set of shelves. Well, that's pretty much it. I really can't wait to make my furnace out of these. Although I might keep this one out, because this one's actually pretty nice. I might keep it in the basement for propping up shelves and whatnot. I don't know, though. It's a brick. It's designed to be used. So, I might just use it. Here's the thing. I know. I can put it at the front of my furnace. So when I open the door, you see Evans and Howard in the front. Like, this really nice, crisp image. That's what I can do. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching. See ya!